Hello, my name is Lane. Today I will be giving a demonstration on how to format an Excel worksheet and share some tips on how to manipulate the columns and the data. We will be starting with a spreadsheet from TMS, or the Talent Management System. This particular sheet is a deficiency list of 4 different items, and we will start in the format that would originally come from TMS. So let me share my screen and we will begin. Okay, so this is typically the way a sheet would come if it was emailed to you, or it would come directly out of TMS in some sort of way. This is what it would come like. It normally would be named report.csv. The first thing I would generally do, I made my cursor a little bit bigger so you'll be able to see it. Up in the left portion here, if you'll select the corner there, I think it would normally have a mouse pointer instead of this plus sign. Maybe that's because I made it larger. When you click the very corner, you'll notice that it highlights the entire sheet. Once you have that highlighted and you are on the Home tab up here at the top, you can come over here to the right to the Format button, and you'll format, and you can do Auto Fit Column Width. Okay, so you notice that made all the columns so you could see the items. Now, once I click one of these boxes, one of the cells, it'll remove the highlighted portion that we have here. I'm fixing to move my notes over to the other screen, just so I'll follow the pattern that I want to follow. Okay, so we did the column width. One of the first things I do like to do is to save what I'm working on so I don't lose it. The format that it comes in as the .csv will not save any of the formatting that you do to your document. So I will show you. So we will file and we will save as, and you'll see it's under report, and you see it's under this format, the CSV, comma delimited values. And so we want to change this to Excel workbook, and I will name this Excel demonstration. And then I will save it. Okay, so now you can see the name up at the top. So we do have it saved. So the next thing I do like to do is to come up to the top row and to make it a little more visible and a little better to see. So anytime you click the little box to the left like this, it'll highlight the whole row, as you'll notice. So when I do that, I can come up to the highlighted section here, and I can pick a highlight and pick what color I would like for that row to be. So I will choose this second color of blue there. And I also would like to make this row a little bit wider so I can see it. There, you see that. I also don't like these the labels to be at the bottom of the row. So what I would do, I already have it highlighted. If you'll come up here to the top under the alignment tab and do middle aligned, you'll see that changes it to the middle. Looks a lot better. So while you have this highlighted, you are welcome to change the font size should you like, and to make it a little bigger, change the font color, whatever you would like. While that row is highlighted, it'll change the font of everything on that row. Okay, so now that we have the top row formatted, if you'll notice, if we scroll down, if you use your the wheel on your mouse, you'll notice that you lose the top row as you scroll down. So one of the things you can do to avoid that, so we'll go under View, and we go to Freeze Panes, and we're going to choose Freeze Top Row. So when we choose that, now when we scroll down, we maintain our top row. Okay, so after we have that done, we're able to look at our sheet a little bit better and decide how we want to set it up. As I said earlier, this particular report has 4 different items, and you see the different numbers and the different titles here as you go along. So one of the things we will do, we will go ahead and sort it by item. And so once again, I'll go over to the top, very top left, and it selects all the rows and columns. I will go to our data and go to sort. And you'll notice this box is checked that says my data has headers. As long as that box is checked, when you choose what to sort by, it will give you the titles of your heading. So we will sort by the item on this first sort and select OK. Okay, so now you see that we have it sorted by this item. Okay, and so the way I'm going to work this report, I have a series of usernames, and these are individuals deficient, and these are all the names have been taken from a database, so there are no any similarity to any person watching this would be coincidental. So anyway, we are going to now choose how we want to have the report. And so for this, I'm wanting to see and sort this somewhat by the manager's name. If you'll come, I'll come to the bottom here and I'll sort over. You see very far over to the right, we do have their organizations that the person is a part of, the organization description, and even farther over, we have the manager's names. Okay, so you see that. So let's come back to the very top corner. On these spreadsheets, if you hold Control and hit Home, it will take you back to the beginning of the document. Okay, so what we'll want to do is I want to have it so that I can readily see the manager's name. So I'm going to choose which columns that I want to have or not have. The user ID column, these are user IDs that TMS has masked, so you cannot see the number. And this column, there's several ways that you can get rid of a column. One is to delete it. If you select the very top, then that selects the entire column. If we go back to our Home tab, we can delete that column and it will just remove it. I'm going to undo that operation that I just did up here at the top left and show you that another way you are able to do this. If you highlight the column itself and then right click, you are able to hide that column. And so you can do that on any worksheet. The data is still there, but you have it hidden from your view. If I would want to unhide that, I would highlight columns on either side that included the one I have hidden, and then I would right click and select unhide. Okay, so for purposes here, I'm going to leave it and I want to just delete the content. So I will select the column and I will just select my delete button on the keyboard and just leave that column blank so I can use it as a spacer between the columns A and C if I should like. Okay, so we'll see over here, we do want to know the name and that they're deficient and the date that they are required to do the training and how far overdue they are. We have last completion date and assignment date. And so to me, I do not need the last completion date or the assignment date. And everyone on this report is from the Shreveport domain and Overton Brooks. So I will delete all of those columns by selecting delete. We have to make sure that we're on the home tab. So this delete shows up, and so I will delete. Now I see some other columns. I do not need these columns. And so I will delete those. And like I said, this could be done by picking out the organization that they're in, but for the purposes here, I'm wanting to get just the manager's name. So I'm going to come over a little more to the right to choose all of the remaining ones that I would like to delete. And so I'm going to take the organization description, and I'm going to come quite a bit farther over. You see, I'm thumbing to the right. Okay, so there I see the manager over here in column P. So I want to take out all the columns all the way to O. If I hold the shift button, then it will select all of these columns and I'll be able to delete them. But let me back up and just show one more time how I did that. So as you see, I'm coming back to the left. I originally had this column H highlighted and or selected. And so basically I'm coming over to find the very last one that I would want to select. And that's going to be column O, which is right before the manager. So I'll hold the shift button down and then select O. And you'll notice I have everything selected that I would want to delete. So now I delete these columns. And anytime if you do something and it didn't look like what you wanted, you can always go to the undo button right up here on the left. It says undo delete. Okay, so once highlighted, if I select any cell, it will take the highlight away. So let's go back to the very beginning. So now you can see what report we have. So now we have a report with our items. We're sorted by the items. We have the users' names, and we also have managers' names. Okay, so for the purposes of this, we will leave it sorted by the item for right now. And I'll show you what we're going to do. Since we do have 4 different items, I'll say that we want to make it a little simpler to look at each of the items. You see, we have quite a few records here. We come down and it's a whole lot to see at one time. Okay, so we have 564 rows that are being used. Okay, so at the bottom, you'll notice this little tab that defines this as a sheet for this workbook. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to take this sheet and we're going to copy it to another tab. So I'm gonna right click that. First of all, I'll rename this tab. So we're going to rename this tab alternate ALT dispute. Okay, and I'll hit enter. Okay. One thing I'll do before, eventually I'm wanting to have this report so that I can see what manager I would need to contact for certain employees. And so we will, let me see how the sort would work if we do it this way. So let's do select everything. So let's go to the data and let's sort it. But instead of by item, let us sort it by the manager. And let's do a secondary sort. We'll add a level. And so the first time it'll sort, it'll be by manager. And the next time we're going to want it to sort by username. So let's do OK, and let's see how that looks. Okay. So that does look more like I'm wanting to do before we copy this to another sheet. So you'll notice now that we changed it by managers, we do have all of our everything divided by manager. But then we're wanting to actually just look at one of the items at a time. So what we're going to do now, we are on the data tab. So we are going to filter this this data so that we can have only one item that we're viewing here. Now, so what we want to do with filter is, I think I noticed earlier, if I just select the filter tab, I noticed that it did filter this one, maybe because I was actually in this row, but that's not exactly what I'm wanting to do. I'm wanting to have filters on all of these actually. So let me undo, or let me just turn off the filter. So what we'll do to make this more correctly, let's select that entire row. So you see I've selected the row. And so now let me select filter. Okay, so now you see that we have an arrow that came upon each column. And so that's what I'm wanting. So now I'm able to go in here and I'm going to filter this row or this column. I'm not going to do select all. I'm going to only include, this is the alternate dispute resolution. So there we go. So now you can see that the only thing we're seeing in our view is that one training. If we come all the way down to the bottom, the number on the row will not be right because we are there are other data that are included and we have filtered them out. But basically now we're looking at every employee and we have them sorted by managers. So now we could see which employee and which manager has, what employees are under different managers if we wanted to report this to the different managers. If we were concerned because we had filtered and we weren't really sure how many we were looking at here, just as a easy way, we can select this one and come all the way down to the bottom, and I'll hold the shift key down, select that. And if you look down at the bottom to the right, you'll see count 123. So that means there's 123 people that are on this list, this filtered list. So, okay, so let's go back to the top. I'm gonna select Control Home. So this is the way we're going to want to have our other tabs set up. So I will right click this down at the bottom and move or copy. And I am going to create a copy and I'm going to move it to the end and select OK. Okay, so you notice it took me to the one that we had just copied. So now we'll come up here and I'll go back to my filter. And we'll want this sheet to include the second training. And let's select OK. Oh, I messed up because I noticed that I had two selected. I want to take the top one off. Okay, so now this one is the mandatory diversity. So let's rename this sheet. Mandatory. Okay. So now we have a second sheet that we can just look at that training. Okay, and notice it is sorted by managers. And the secondary sort was by employees, if you'll remember. So now let's do another copy. And you'll remember what we did before. We created a copy and we moved it to the end. If by chance, if you'll notice what it says, that we're putting it before the sheet. So if you happen to wanted to put it in a different place, you could select the different place. But even after you create a copy, you can drag this to put it where you want it. So here's our new column. And so in this one, we will select the third training, which will be the EEO training, no fear, and whistleblower rights. So let us rename this one to whistleblower. Okay, so we have one more training that we have not looked at. Notice this one it retains the sort that we did every time we make a new sheet down at the bottom. So with this one, let's do again, move our copy, create a copy, move it to the end. And with this one, we're on the new sheet. So we will select the last item. And now we have harassment, prevention, and accountability training. So let's rename this one as harassment. Okay, so now we started out, remember, with a spreadsheet that included 4 items, and it was a little difficult to sort through the employees and the items and the managers. But now we have it so that we can look under each of these different managers, what employees they have that have not done this training. We have their the dates that they are required to do it. We have how many days they have remaining, or how many days they are deficient actually. And so we have an easy to view, easy to read spreadsheet. And so that pretty much completes what I wanted to show you today. The last thing I will remind you is that always make sure you save your sheets. A lot of times I did not do it, but a lot of times during the middle of your adjustments to the spreadsheet, it's a good idea to save the document, which is right up here, and save it intermittently so you'll make sure that you don't lose anything. But remember, everything you do, if you didn't like the way it worked out or you thought you made a mistake, you can always undo. And so remember, so that's basically what I wanted to show you today. I hope this all helps in sorting and manipulating the data to be able to use and to be more beneficial to you in the reports that TMS sends you. Thank you for your time.